Nijud Ali is every inch a child, and yet at just 10, she has already been married and divorced. The very portrait of innocence, a shy smile, a playful nature. It makes her story all the more moving as she calmly narrates it.
When I got married, I was afraid. I didn't want to leave home. I wanted to stay with my brothers and sisters and my mom and dad.
But it was her parents who married off Nijud in February to a man more than 3 times her age.
I didn't want to sleep with him, but he forced me to. He hit me and insulted me.
Must have been torture.
At the time, she was living with her husband and his family. He declined to be interviewed for this story. But Nijud says she was beaten and raped and turned to her own family for mercy after just a few weeks of marriage.
When I heard, my heart burned for her. He wasn't supposed to sleep with her.
He was a criminal. He did hateful things to her, and he didn't keep his promise. He did not keep his promise to me that he wouldn't go near her until she was 20.
Her parents told her they couldn't protect her. She belonged to her husband now. Nijud's parents, like so many others here in Yemen, followed tribal customs. The international aid group Oxfam says more than half of all young Yemeni girls are married before the age of 18, many to older men. It means the girls are no longer a financial or moral burden to their parents. In traditional communities like this, it is often a question of honor.
They always fear that the girl will do something to dishonor the family. She will run away with the guy. She will have a relation with the boy. So this is always the phobia that the families have.
Suha Bashran of Oxfam calls this a national crisis in one of the world's poorest countries. She works with young girls to protect them from early marriage, abuse, and one of the highest maternal mortality rates in the world. The Yemeni government is holding legal and religious workshops to try and deal with the issue of early marriage. Many brides who are often just children themselves have babies too early and too often. But here in Yemen, marrying off a young daughter is still generally seen as the right thing to do, a way of ensuring her future, just as Nijud's parents feel they did.
A lot of people in the public don't think that this is wrong or what happened to her is abuse.
The truth is, here in Yemen, there is nothing rare or extraordinary about Nijud's story. But what is incredible is that this young girl had the courage to take an intensely private family matter and go public with it. With her parents' permission, Nijud continues to tell her story about how, on a visit to her parents' home, she escaped, got herself across town to the central courthouse, sat on a bench, and demanded to speak to a judge.
And he asked me, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want a divorce." And he said, "You're married?" And I said, "Yes."
What unfolded in those few days in April gripped the country. Her father and husband were jailed until the divorce hearing to make sure they'd show up in court. Nijud was put in the care of a very determined human rights lawyer who resolved her abuse would stop.
She doesn't have anything. She doesn't have right to study, to live like children, to play, to go to the school. This is very different. And I ask her, don't be afraid. I will help you.
Nijud got her divorce, but based on the principles of Sharia law, her husband was compensated, not prosecuted. There were no charges against him. Nijud was ordered to pay him more than $200. But for this determined spirit, it was sweet victory.
I did this so that people would listen and think about not marrying their daughters off as young as I was.
But the fact is, human rights advocates say it will take more than a generation if any of this is to change in Yemen.
So these girls, they live in a misery that no one is talking about it.
Even Nijud, now back at home with her family, has been stigmatized by the divorce. She says she won't go outside to play. All the attention bothers her. Some neighbors and family still cling to a stinging indictment of this young girl, who is somehow seen as far too provocative to embrace. Some believe she shouldn't have challenged convention. But Nijud hopes her defiance will at least salvage the childhood of Yemen's next generation of women. And, oh yes, she says she's never getting married. Never. Paula Newton, CNN, Sana'a, Yemen.